A dad had a dream. Not a vision or anything dramatic. Just an ordinary dream that lingered when he woke up. In it, he saw his two young sons receiving their first Holy Communion inside the Vatican. As the day went on, the image stayed with him. And it left him wondering, could something like that actually happen? Is it even possible to receive First Communions in the Vatican? As he kept searching, another question came to mind. Could the children receive communion directly from the Pope? It didn't take long to find out. Pope Benedict XVI had occasionally given communion to laypeople. But Pope Francis had never done so outside of extraordinary celebrations. A few more searches led to an extraordinary discovery. A Vatican's Jubilee year would include a special papal Mass with First Communions scheduled for June 1st, 2025 in St. Peter's Square. Only one chance, one place, one date. It seemed too perfect to ignore. The dad inquired at the office of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. They responded kindly, but could only offer general papal audience or papal Mass tickets. A quiet word from one of the staff offered insight. The Vatican was hoping to include just 1 or 2 children from each country. He realized the chances were slim. Maybe not, if he tried through Indian channels. Through careful searching, he found the Jubilee coordinator in India that the Vatican was working with, a gracious, well-regarded priest in the state of Tamil Nadu, open to helping. But to move forward successfully, they needed someone in high church authority to present the children. Then came a bold but hopeful idea. What if he reached out to the head of the Syro-Malabar Church? It seemed like a long shot. But with a few thoughtful phone calls, he was connected to the right people and received a gracious response. Within a week, a formal letter of presentation was prepared, signed by the head of the church himself. A few days later, the boys' names were officially submitted through the proper channel to the Vatican dicastery overseeing Jubilee events. Then, things grew uncertain. Whispers began. The Vatican might cancel the First Communion celebration due to safety concerns for children in the expected crowd of 100,000. Then came deeper sorrow. Pope Francis was hospitalized. Not long after, the world mourned his passing. A new pope was elected, Pope Leo XIV. The family wondered quietly, would the new pope keep the previous pope's commitments? Throughout it all, the mother of the children never once complained to her husband. She watched the unfolding journey with patient faith. Without knowing whether the First Communion would ever happen, she still lovingly prepared the boys' clothes, their candles. Official word arrived. First Communion celebration will not happen. The Papal Jubilee Mass would still take place, but not the part that had inspired the family. A prominent priest at the U.S. Bishops' Conference went out of his way, quietly arranging 7 special guest passes for the reserved section at the Papal Jubilee Mass. The official First Communion event had been canceled, but the boys could still be there, seated close to the Pope on the very date they had been waiting for. Boys began preparing their hearts and minds to receive their First Communion during that Mass, even though it will not be the Pope himself distributing the Eucharist. The day before the family flew to Rome, the dad made one last call to the office of His Eminence George Cuvacat, a Syro-Malabar cardinal leading a Vatican dicastery. His Eminence was on an overseas trip, but the office responded warmly. They invited the dad to write and email his request. He did just hours before boarding the flight. His Eminence returned to Rome. Still, no message came. Inside the Basilica, as the boys waited for their confession, the phone rang. It was an Italian number. It was His Eminence with unexpected news. A year earlier, His Eminence had reserved a special mass at the tomb of St. Peter for another family. He made a gracious decision. He would modify the mass to focus on a First Communion celebration for the two boys. He invited them to join him the very next morning in the most sacred place within St. Peter's Basilica. And so, on June 1st, 2025, the very date the family had been anxiously waiting for, the boys received their First Communion from His Eminence at the tomb of Apostle Peter. The light, the stillness, the reverence of that morning became a gift the boys would carry for life. The mother stood quietly behind them, her heart filled with joy. In that sacred moment, she knew without words that all the waiting, the preparation, the trust, and boys' grandparents' blessings had not been in vain. From a quiet dream to a series of closed doors to a sacred morning, this journey was not about planning or influence, but about persistence, grace, and unexpected kindness.